version. So I have Pascal here from Caplena. He is going to jump into his demo. Before that, just a couple of notes. Make sure you drop any of your questions in that Q&A box. We'll get back to them at the end of the session. And feel free to drop a little emoji as Pascal's talking here. You see that at the bottom of the screen. Very inspiring stuff there. So I will go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Cara. And yeah, so glad to be here. Calling in from Zurich, Switzerland. Here, most of you are based in the US. So happy Friday, everyone, I guess. And it's a pleasure to talk to you about text analytics in general and about what Caplena can do to help you with your needs there. So yeah, what is Caplena? Caplena is a self-service tool that allows you to analyze open-ended feedback really efficiently. So what is open-ended feedback? Well, you all know multiple sources. We really are agnostic to any kind of open-ended text that may come. So be it from customer satisfaction, online reviews, employee feedback, or social media posts. We can ingest all of that, spit out relevant topics, and do an accurate analysis through a process that we call augmented intelligence. And more on that I will show in that demo just later on. And finally, as output, you can get really pretty dashboards that are interactive and allow you to shine in your corporation. Yeah, so how do you get data into Caplena? Well, this is luckily also easy, either through a file or through our many integrations. I will showcase a couple of them later on, but we have quite a few data sources connected already to Caplena and many more to come. Then comes this process that I just mentioned, this augmented intelligence process. Well, what is it? Our AI is not just ChatGPT spitting out some random gibberish or understandable gibberish, but just something. It actually queries for your input. So it allows you really to, using our AI, discover topics, but then refine them and interact with you to create the most actionable result possible for your data. More of that just in a minute in the demo. And then when you're sort of happy with the result, then you can use our state-of-the-art visualizations to share them around. But best is always to show this in the app. So quickly on the import, I mentioned here the integrations where we have different sources, like for the online reviews, you can directly connect them here for yourself or for your competitors, or you versus your competitors. Your Qualtrics surveys or any other apps that you may want to connect using Zapier. For this demo, I would like to work on a classical NPS study, but this is also applicable, obviously, for online reviews, for employee feedback surveys, etc. In this case, the study is about consumer electronics, and it's really an open study where we ask customers the classical NPS questions. Why did they give this rating? And for this, we'd like to really let Caplena discover topics and show us what is in there and give us an actionable analysis. But we can also add topics from, let's say, previous study or somewhere else, or you have some kind of top-down approach where you already know which topics you want to track. So you could, in principle, also add additional topics that you may already have. But in this case, we're just going to generate and let our AI sift through the feedback. This particular study also contains sentiments, so meaning they have positive and negative mentions, even some mixed ones, like people liking a particular aspect of the product, but not another one. So we definitely want to do the sentiment analysis, and thus we click here, yes. And now Caplena goes through all the rows in the data, all these responses, and really finds the most relevant topics that are in there It's not just like it's not a generic template or anything. It's really based on what is actually in the data. And what is in the data itself, we can see here on the right. And to sort of kick off this augmented intelligence approach, we have now first something presented by the AI, but now I will give my input as a study designer, as a market researcher. And for example, we structure here a bit the categories. You can see here Caplena has put out a two-level hierarchy of topics and their categories, these tiles, these larger buckets of topics. And I can now, for example, hide certain categories. So for example, I don't like this one, liking is too generic. So I will just remove this. And what happened is that the topics that were in there were automatically redistributed to the other categories where they match best. So for example, then the TV went to the product and the design as well. So after this first step, we go to the next step, which is then to look again through the topics and reduce potentially similar topics to avoid double counting or any kind of other overlap issues that you might have. So let's say here, ease of use, no issues, sounds kind of similar. We're just going to remove the no issues one. So I'm done here, meets my needs and I like it. I will also just merge these two together. We can worry about the naming, etc. later. For now, this is just done. And also, but here, like the brand, I want to have some granularity here. So I will keep familiarity and reputation separate. Like I want to track sort of how many people are even familiar with this brand. In this case, it's Samsung, but it might be any other versus the reputation. So I'll just mark this as done as well. And then maybe here, services, a lot of features, I will just remove this as well. And now I can check again sort of how it's starting to take shape in the assignment. But we're not done yet with all the process. We're hitting next, and now we finally get to the stage where we can also add additional topics, what we have here. So let's say I want more granularity. Maybe I first need to do one more little cleanup. I forgot this in the previous step, but actually for this particular case, TV and products is the same topic because the study is around TVs. Our AI cannot know this because we asked this in the questionnaire, but in this case, products and the TV is actually the same thing since this study is only about TVs. But easy enough, we can just merge the two and then go ahead and add some granularity. Let's say I want to understand more what is here in the ease and convenience. Ease of use is a bit generic for me. I really want to understand what are people talking about when they talk about the usability of this particular TV. So I click here on generate more topics and let the AI generate more topics around ease and convenience. And while this is generating, I have to move to reactivate the lamp, otherwise I look really dark. All right, I'm back. And it will now go through the rows again and spot for any potential new topics that are in this category ease of use, but have not been covered yet. This is especially also handy if you think about maybe in a tracker where your data is also evolving. You may have new topics appearing over time. So this is really useful then to generate. So now we can see here in ease and convenience that we have a lot of additional topics generated. Again, here I would go through and do a little bit of a cleanup. So ease of navigation is very good. Ease of understanding, I would probably remove this. This is more of a duplicate. Ease of setup is really good. It's a separate step in the user journey. The rest I would just remove again. So I added two additional topics by just letting the AI generate and then cleaning up. So now after this process, obviously I can go ahead and generate more topics, interact some more with this part of our AI, or, which is what I'm going to do now, is to hit save and go to the next step. So once we've sort of defined this initial set of topics and categories, the AI will sift through the entirety of the feedback, which might be hundreds or it might be 100,000 rows, and assign then these topics along with the respective sentiment to the individual rows. We can already see here an output where we see a graphic that highlights the sentiment per topic in the data. But I actually want to dive in even more. So I want to take a look at the individual rows and see what happens there on that level. And here I can see that for most topics, it's already doing quite a good job at assigning them to individual rows. Maybe here I would work a bit more on the naming, such that when I present this to my stakeholders, that they will really understand what I mean. And here, for example, topics is a very general name. So I would say this is more about general satisfaction. Meets my needs. We're also going to turn on here the sentiment for this particular topic. And for example, here a lot of features that's maybe not the best formulation for this kind of topic. So I would maybe say here variety of features might be more actionable than for management or for, let's say, the product team. And let's say you have very specific topics, a lot of granularity and really involved user feedback. Then it might be really beneficial, or it is really beneficial to also do a little bit of fine-tuning of our AI. How this is done is really simple. You don't need to be a data scientist or call us or anything. It's really just looking here at the individual rows and either saying that this is reviewed, I agree with this, or changing. And for example, here I see that probably I should have added some more topics. There is nothing around the app. Yeah, this is certainly something I want to add. Let's say I add it under features, I add something around the app. And then what the AI will do in the background is take now this new topic app as well and assign it to matching rows as well. And it will take this input that I've reviewed this row now manually. It will take this as an input to do another small training to improve the results on the entire data set. So this will make it sure that it's super accurate on the very specific data, not just any generic AI that does this sort of one-trick pony, just assigns everything once, but actually will learn from your input on the specific study that you do and any potential new data that you might add or a new wave of this tracker or new responses coming in through your CX program. On top of this, what you then can do is obviously you can also export using our API. But furthermore, you can use our built-in visualizations to share then results within your company. And we have a variety of charts built into the app that you can also download or embed into dashboards. One of them is this sentiment comparison on 2-level. And for example, here for this particular TV, we quickly see that sort of the quality is obviously a big topic where they still have a bit of mixed bag responses. We can also take a look in the chart what people say about the screen quality, for example. And by that, we can then even drill down further by adding filters, combining this in a dashboard, etc. And also, we can do dynamic comparisons. For example, I want to compare different producers, like the overall distribution here in blue versus the Google phone. this would actually be a TV, or here the Samsung one, and also compare for the different sentiments to really get a better understanding of how my features, how my price is doing versus the overall or the competition. We also have further capabilities in visualizing structured data as well. Here is a driver analysis on the satisfaction score. We can quickly see that here screen quality is a negative driver on the NPS score. Here would be the likelihood to recommend this brand. And so that's really neat and easy to use on that front. And even going even more into detail, you can even have a analysis on correlation between different topics. If they talk about screen quality, do they also talk about sound quality, which is really the case here? It's quite a strong correlation that we can see here. Is this also the case for negative sentiment? Not so much. It's more in a positive sentiment that they then mention both screen quality and sound quality together. And to summarize, then you can build these nice dashboards that are fully interactive with filters, with the sentiments, which are the ability to limit topics shown, some interactive elements in there, also visualizing trends, and even showing individual rows that you can simply take a look at by also clicking on a particular row. And this you can then share within your organization or export. Yeah, and to conclude, what Caplena does is take any form of open-ended feedback, be it from online reviews or NPS surveys that I just showed, and it's really flexible in the way that it categorizes and assigns these topics to the individual rows. And we found really that it's comparable to what you would obtain if you do a full manual coding. But instead of going through every row, you give these high-level instructions by adjusting these topics as I've shown and do a few manual reviews, and you very quickly get to a result that you would otherwise only get from a full manual analysis. So it's really easy to use and helpful for any kind of study, be it like an ad hoc or a tracker. And yeah, I'd be happy to welcome you on the platform as well. You'll be in very good company, like on the lawns of other bigger corporates like Johnson & Johnson, eBay, who are doing a lot of feedback analysis through us, and also agencies that are from small ad hoc studies to large trackers utilizing this tool. Yeah, and with that, I'd like to already thank you and move on to the Q&A with you, Cara.
Great, thank you so much.
Now the light is off again. All right.
Oh yeah, no, it's back now. I didn't have to do too many jumping jacks during the session. That's great. All right, we have a few questions here and a little bit of time, so feel free to pop in some more questions as we're going here. We have one from Emily. She says, "Can you get a sense of the size of the categories or topics to understand which might want to be merged to broken out?"
Yeah.
I might have read that.
So, so you can get that on the last view that I showed, where you really see the individual rows and the full assignment. There you have really already an accurate estimation of the count, etc. And you can easily remove the rare topics. The interactive part that I showed first, there we only compute on a sample to make it interactive. So there you can see it as I've shown. Actually, I'm still sharing screen, so I can even show you. You can go ahead and take a look at the distribution easily as well here, and also filter by individual topics and then simply remove the ones that might be not interesting or too few for your use case.
Perfect. Thanks. That's helpful. Hopefully that answers your question, Emily. Okay, next question from Aniko. What proportion of the data do you suggest the researcher should review to get the highest possible output?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that depends on the size and it also on the complexity of your feedback. Some have extremely open feedback that covers really a lot of topics, for example, for e-commerce platforms that deal with buyers and sellers. It's sometimes really in the details to understand what is about seller, what is about buyer, what is about the platform itself, many parties involved, etc. In these cases, we would go up to 5% of the rows. Obviously, if you have 100,000 rows, then not 5%, but maybe a couple of hundred is certainly still helpful. It's really not needed to do more than that. Typically, for smaller studies, it will be 20 to 50 rows that you would review.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next question from Greg. Do you have any data or anecdotes / examples of when this sort of analysis of open-ended questions gets better results than using multiple choice questions?
Yeah, interesting question. Like we don't have a particular study on this, but at least from what our users are doing and the companies we're working with, it's been a clear trend to move away from asking 10 closed questions on individual dimensions, such as here. You would actually need to ask, what's your thought on the design from 0 to 10, screen quality 0 to 10. It's just, I mean, it gets hard to track and for a user hard to fill out and just quite complex. So just in general, people like to respond more to short questionnaires. I believe that is thoroughly covered in the literature. And the kind of results that you get in terms of then the driver analysis, for example, has been shown to be at least as actionable as this sort of, even more actionable actually, because you can also dig into then these responses and understand even more detail by reading a few key responses, what they really meant and why, right?
Right. Follow-up question from Aniko, and this might just be something that you could touch base with on a one-on-one, but he's asking, can you share any information on pricing / the different subscriptions you offer?
We actually can. We do have a public subscription plans. Sorry, I'm not currently set up for this, but yeah, I can share. There is, if you go to caplena.com, you will see our pricing. There's a free trial for 2 weeks for everyone, where you get to work on your own data even, or you can scrape some reviews for you. And then once you're settled, there are monthly options from $100 a month. I mean, we usually speak euros, but it's pretty much 1-to-1 these days. And yeah, if you have higher needs, obviously, then we have bespoke plans for your kind of data and user needs.
Perfect, thank you. It's not too often we can get into the nitty-gritty like that, so it's appreciated. All right, question from Alina. Did you develop your own sentiment analysis model, or are you using something already developed?
No, this is something that we developed, especially for customer feedback. We just see that it really makes a difference, especially also if you look at very short responses. Sometimes by just, if you take a very generic sentiment analysis tool, it will really struggle to assign a proper sentiment. And I mean, the problem gets even worse when you have really long responses, because they're kind of an overall sentiment really loses also value because it's really then in the topics where the interesting sentiment is. Sometimes they people then talk in the mixed sentiment, right? They mention one aspect positively, one negatively. If you take one of the solutions that is out there pre-built, you will just get an overall neutral, which is then not really helpful because you want to understand which topic was actually mentioned in a positive way, which one in a negative way. I mean, you could do something like split by sentence and whatnot, but this is really not still not then as accurate as really going on the per topic level as we can offer.
That's great. And you kind of actually touched on the next question that we had from Sasha here. They're asking, open-ended feedback can be unpredictable, especially when respondents could provide negative feedback in a positive way. How does Caplena identify the positive and negative sentiments?
I'll read through again, especially when we could provide negative feedback in a positive way. So that could be like irony, I guess, in that, or sarcasm. This case is really best covered because sarcasm can be very context also specific, like where exactly are they asked and what's the situation. So this is best addressed by our fine tuning, where the user, you as a researcher, could go through and review a couple of rows, and then the assignment would reflect that. For example, in this case, I don't know, 1 hour waiting time is actually very long, or it's actually fairly good in this context, for example, for the customer support. So that is something that you would address through doing a couple of manual reviews. And in general, Caplena always looks at entire statements, not just like assigning a sentiment to a particular word, but really looks at the entire text, and from there infers a sentiment based on trained data that we have that is proprietary and that we use for this engine.
And going off that, I guess, how does Caplena handle kind of industry-specific jargon?
Yeah, that's a good question. So here we already had a bit of industry-specific jargon, but it's obviously not as specific as you would, for example, see in healthcare. But the customers that use us, for example, for healthcare, where there's very specific jargon, they then also benefit from what other people on Caplena are doing. So if somebody already did a healthcare survey on Caplena with a roughly similar kind of topic or similar kind of sub-industry, then Caplena will already understand these particular words that they sort of mean, these abbreviations that frequently are used. And if not, then a few manually reviewed samples will already teach it to Caplena.
Perfect, thank you. And then another just kind of high-level question: how many languages does Caplena currently support?
Yeah, so natively it supports 33. Most Western languages, European and American, Spanish obviously included, and also Portuguese, French, Italian, etc. And the rest is covered through translation engines, DeepL or Google Translate, depending on the situation, which really offer good results. But if you'd like to do an analysis, for example, in German or in Spanish, it's absolutely possible. Even the topics can be then in Spanish or in Portuguese, for the matter. Depends obviously also on your audience that you're presenting these results to.
Perfect. Well, we are right at the end of time here. Thanks so much. For
my lights go
questions.
out
No,
again.
no worries. Just in time. Well, thank you so much, Pascal. This was really great. Thanks everybody for sticking around and being so engaged with the questions. Yeah, I hope that everybody goes to Caplena, gets that 2-week free trial and goes beyond. Can't pass up a free trial, right? So really appreciate your time today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see everybody in the next session.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.